Today is Friday, January the 12th, 2024, and welcome to episode 78 of Rural Lives with Candy Couple. I'm Julia.
And I'm Aaron.
We're a small homestead family in rural Southwest Virginia that work every day on merging homesteading and frugality, reducing our dependencies on outside sources. And I could say we are quite a few steps ahead on that because we are 100% debt free.
Correct. No plans of going back.
No plans of going back. And we know we're just focused on our next step forward. But today we want to talk about something that we see is going to be a big thing in 2024. We really do. And we want to really talk about it in terms of, does it work with homesteading? And that is minimalism. It's already a buzzword. It's already a huge movement.
Yeah. You get rid of everything.
Create simplicity.
Yeah.
And I can see how some people would really gravitate towards this, especially when you have a lot of stuff and it becomes frustrating because you're managing it. So I could see where some homesteaders are like, well, I'm just going to become a minimalist homestead. We want to talk about it and what we see as pros and cons, and also if it's even possible. And we kind of feel like in some ways the ideals kind of work together, but in others,
not at all.
Not at all. So, minimalism. Aaron, what do you think minimalism is?
Get rid of everything and live with nothing.
That's not what minimalism is. But we are not minimalism. Aaron's the total other side of this, as in, if I didn't control him, he'd be a hoarder.
No comment.
Okay, because we had a really hard time letting go of stuff when we got together. We, as in.
Not too bad.
Some things you did. You're like, I don't know about this. You felt very uncomfortable. So we had to learn boundaries. But some things were easy. But if we had ever went through the closet, he would have never went through the closet. It was nothing he was going to ever keep. Or use, but he never went through it. So we had all kinds of stuff to throw away. Minimalism, and we looked at multiple definitions, but there's a few things they have in common, and that's Webster, Oxford, anywhere you look, and that is scarcity and simplicity. So the ideal is you keep the things that bring you joy. You don't get rid of all of it, but you get rid of a lot of it. You keep the things that bring you joy and happiness and get rid of the rest. And it's supposed to create simplicity in your life. You focus more on experiences versus things.
And that's something you hear a lot, how the younger generations now is focusing more on the experiences.
Yep, that's a huge thing right now. Like, we want to do all the stuff. Whereas, previous generations, they were more focused on building wealth, building their lifestyle. The experiences would come later.
Right.
We were building now. So we've kind of done a reverse in psychology here. But how does this relate to homesteading? Well, if we look at some of the principles of homesteading, one of the really big principles of homesteading, at least for us, and how most people actually become homesteaders is they start as preppers.
Yep.
And prepping
is not about being minimalist.
It's not. It is not. You're going to have a lot of stuff. It doesn't even have to be a lot of one thing. You don't have to have like a lot of bags of rice. But you're going to have like 1 or 2 bags of rice. You're going to have a couple bags of beans. You're going to have a bunch of different stuff.
I don't know if 1 or 2 bags of rice is prepping.
It's for some people. If we're not talking us and hardcore preppers, babe. We're talking your basic individual out there who's just trying to make it day to day. We have more than 1 or 2 bags of rice. I think our child would go on strike if she didn't get her rice. But prepping naturally lends itself to homesteading. And if you look at the minimalist movement, even things like books are cut down.
Yeah, it's more about renting them and like from the library and taking them back. Or
limiting the amount that you have to deal with. Whereas for us, we get those books, we look at those books, we read those books, but we also want those books on hand as reference points later. We don't have to go back and go to a library and find them or anything like that. Yep. We want to have them on hand. So we tend to have more items. Look at medical care, things of that nature. We'll have more gauzes,
Yeah.
more of those basic things on hand. We're going to have more soap. Most of the time, more toilet paper. I don't, after 2020, does it make you wonder how minimalism really works? Or is it because everybody was stuck in their house and they bought a lot of stuff and now they're like, I don't want all the stuff in my house?
Mm-hmm.
Could it be both?
Maybe.
I don't know. But prepping does not lead itself to minimalism, and that's part of being a homesteader. And also think of it in terms of your food, all the things you need to have on hand to can, to, process.
It requires a lot of stuff being a minimalist. I mean, especially if you're in a tiny house minimalist, where are you going to put it?
Tools, gardening equipment.
Right.
You don't need a lot of equipment to garden. Not a small garden.
True.
But if you go bigger,
you're going to need more tools and everything like that. You could get a shed, and have a few extra items that way,
small, but you could do it. It's going to be harder for you to manage. And there are some homesteaders out there that do it in tiny living.
Yeah.
But I don't really see them as being minimalist because they're doing the canning. They're finding creative ways to store and manage and prep and have their preps and have their gardens and all of this stuff. You can freeze dry or dehydrate a lot of foods and it would go way, way down in weight and size and things like that. So it's another way to kind of reduce the amount you have to actually store. If, that's something that you are looking towards when you're going to go that more minimalist route. For us, like I said, we're not minimalist. We are not. But where I tend to be more minimalism is I don't like a lot of stuff out. Everything's got to go in a cupboard, a cabinet, somewhere. I don't want to look at it. I don't want to touch it. I don't want to deal with it. I want to be able to take a duster and just wipe everything down. Pins can't just sit. They got to go in a basket. I mean, and I'll have pins and I'll have scissors in every room in the house. But they're in a place and they have to stay in that place. Now, I will say scissors is one of the things that I tend to lose the most because we'll take them outside.
Yep.
All the time. And I always have 2 or 3 pairs of scissors next to the door going outside because we always need scissors. I mean, always. And that has worked out really well for us. Now, as a frugal homesteader, this is another aspect that we don't really think jives with minimalism. As a frugal homesteader, we are planning projects well in advance before we actually start them. And that includes purchasing items for those projects.
Or storing items.
And storing them.
So, I mean, we are preparing way into the future for builds or projects with the aspect of getting something at the best deal.
Absolutely. Most bang for our buck. That's what we're focused on. Yeah. And that is part of our frugalism, which can jive with minimalism. At times, they do have very similar things. Frugalism in itself is living off less, using less, spending less, doing the best that you can without feeling deprivation. Absolutely agree with that. Minimalism can be that way. You're living a much simpler life. You have less stuff. So they can jive well together. But as homesteaders, we really look at everything. Every piece of scrap, can we use this?
Right.
Can it serve a purpose? Maybe not right now. Can
Maybe
it serve a purpose?
2 years from now.
2 years from now. 3 years from now. So what that means is we have to have places to manage the stuff. And on our homestead, we do.
Yep.
We have to have a system to make sure we remember. Keeping like items together. Kind of knowing what we have. If we have a stack of 10, all the 10 needs to go in the stack of 10. If we have stacks of wood, all the wood needs to go in the stack of wood. And that has worked out pretty well for us.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of know what we have. Sometimes I forget some of the obscure things, but Aaron, he does really good remembering a lot of the items that we have outside. But with minimalism, you would typically just get rid of it and then buy as you need.
Right.
I wouldn't imagine that they're going to be searching for years.
No. And planning on building something 2 years from now, they would wait to 2 years from now to buy all those materials.
From what we understand of
Yep.
minimal, and we could be totally wrong with this. We could be totally wrong with this. The few minimalists I know personally, like, she had like 3 sweaters and 2 shirts and 2 pairs of pants, and
It's interesting.
she nothing. She's like, we're minimalists. We don't want all this stuff. And I'm like, oh wow, that was before minimalism was a thing.
If you hard days work outside and rip through a couple of those, you're going to be without pants.
we would know that from experience. It's just not a lot of extra stuff. They're not going to look at it through the same lens as a homesteader would.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're a minimalist homesteader, how would you look at this? I just putting myself in the shoe, like, okay, well, I'm planning on building this, but do I really need this right now? Is there something else it could be used for? Maybe if you could find a use for it at that point, you would keep it. But for the most part, I just see that kind of being thought of more as things to get rid of versus things to keep and use in the future. Whereas, we're definitely more focused on keeping as much good usable material,
Right.
not hoarding, as we can.
Close enough.
It's not. Now, where I think minimalism and homesteading could jive a little bit more is this aspect of simplicity.
Mm-hmm.
Because our goals are to be simple lives. Live a simple life. That is what we want. We want less outside noise as homesteaders. We just want to focus on our day-to-day. Get the job done. Take care of ourselves. Not have to rely on outside sources. Be able to handle these. It's why we prep and why we can and why we do all the things we do. So live a simpler lifestyle. Minimalism is more about, an aspect of, simplicity and creating simplicity in their life and just removing the things that aren't giving them joy to create simplicity in their life. And I can understand that. I can completely agree with that, because what we have done is we've kind of removed ourselves from all the outside noise by trying to live a much simpler life focused on our homestead. And they're just removing the noise in their home.
Makes sense.
Wouldn't you agree with that?
Yeah. I mean, a weekend or so like that, that sounds fine. But not having, something on hand for a month or two, I would be like, oh my gosh.
I would have a hard time with books.
Yeah.
I could never go minimalist for the books because I have a lot. Now, I would say that one of the things that I would think that a minimalist would just cringe is the amount of work homesteading actually takes. If you really look at it, because they're trying to live a simpler life, less things, less
true.
complications.
And there's so much to the homestead, keeping stuff running. A small garden, yes, but a massive garden, no.
Hard work. It's a lot of hard work, especially if you're trying to do natural methods, no-till, all of these things that are more to the earth. The broad fork alone is where I'm thinking. That broad fork is a workout.
Yes. So if you hadn't seen an older video from us there, I broad forked the whole garden, I guess, a couple of times, didn't I?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's got to do it again.
Yeah, so it's a workout. I mean, you get going there good, for half of it, and then the other half
You're about to die.
You're like, oh my gosh, am I done yet? Am I done yet?
Well, it's such a heavy tool, and you're moving, but it's a lot of work, and it's a very simple aspect. It's something that is kind of mind-numbing because you're just getting it done, and it could be freeing for a homesteader, but I see the amount of extra stuff that we go through as being kind of insane to a minimalist. Like, God, why would they do that? They could just go to the grocery store and get tomatoes.
That's true, but then that's where the cost comes into play.
Well, the cost and the self-reliance. I'm less worried about the cost. We have tomatoes on sale right now for 39 cents at our grocery store. Yeah. Canned tomatoes, 39 cents at our grocery store. That is an amazing deal. It is an amazing price for a can of tomatoes at a grocery store.
But that's very unusual for tomatoes.
It is. That's that is a loss leader item. And for us, I like knowing as much as I can where my food is coming from. As much as I can at this point in our life. Most of our vegetables, I want to grow ourselves.
Yep.
We can do that. We've gotten pretty good at it.
Mm.
We're doing really well. We're not really having to buy a lot of produce from other places. We're able to do as much of our own as we can to put away. Feeling really good about that. But it's a lot of work.
It is.
It's old ways. We look at old ways as being simpler. We look at it, the old ways of doing things as being the more, the lifestyle we're living. A minimalist looks at like less stuff as leading to a simpler life.
Mm-hmm.
Less, interruption. Less complications. Leading to, at least that's how we see it. And we can't be totally off base here. I mean, we ain't ever going to be minimalist at all. No. Ever.
No, but, from the minimalist perspective, you can end up paying a lot more for items, because when you do need them, you might need them right then, compared to the frugal side of things that you're going to, look out for the better deal over time.
Other things you're going to need, I would say a merging of like some of those minimalist ideas, especially in places that cause you stress. I think that is where a homesteader can get the most use out of minimalism, like your home. And like I said, I like everything to have a place. I don't like things being out. I don't like dealing with a lot of stuff, especially in my living room, my dining room, my kitchen. I like to put as much up as I can. It bothers me. It has for a really long time. You know that.
Oh, yeah.
Creating a more minimalist approach where we don't have a lot of stuff out can create me less stress in the long run. Kind of like our shoe area.
Yeah.
We really cut that back. We put a system in a place that doesn't cause as much stress for me, doesn't give me as much anxiety. And I can see, where as a mom and a woman on the homestead, taking some of those and being like, okay, I just need less toys in the house. Because I will say, we are a culture of materialism, and I can see where this minimalist mindset has came through.
Yeah.
You could watch TikTok after TikTok of people, and I don't know how they make money doing this, but my God, I can only imagine. All they're doing is picking up toys. People are watching other people pick up toys. Sort toys.
You need to start videoing me.
At night, watching Aaron pick up toys.
Yeah,
but we're talking not just like the 30 toys, little toys, or 15, 20 toys that are in the living room. We're talking hundreds of toys in the playroom. Hundreds of toys. For like 2 kids.
Do people hire people for that? I'm interested.
Aaron's going to come pick up your toys.
I'll do it. What are you paying?
I can see where people are getting frustrated with all the stuff. And it does seem like we have so much more access to stuff. You have Amazon, Walmart, Target, TJ Maxx, Marshalls, all these places. You can order online, you can order on the app, you can order curbside pickup, you can go into the stores.
A lot of bigger cities, same day delivery on a lot of stuff too.
Outlets. That's a big thing around here, is going outlet shopping. You can get even more stuff. And you always see people carry bags and bags and bags and bags of stuff. And when we used to go, we've not been in a really long time.
We wouldn't usually carry bags. We'd go in and look and have nothing.
We're the people you don't want shopping at your store. It takes us like 2 minutes to go in and see, and then 2 minutes to get out. And I'm the worst about being like, God, I really like that. I look at it and I look away. God, I really like that. I just can't. You can ask Aaron. That is I don't know how many times he's heard me say this conversation. But it is one of the things that I think are driving people towards this movement.
Yeah.
Is just like, I want to live a simpler lifestyle. There's so much in the world right now. Just so much. And it's so quick to get it. And getting it leads you further in debt if you're not paying off your credit cards.
Mm-hmm.
It has so many consequences. So they're not just looking, I mean, you can look at multiple consequences. They're not just looking at the consequences to your sanity of dealing with all of it, but also the consequences to your pocketbook.
Yep.
Do you agree with that?
Totally. Yeah, I mean, from a minimalist perspective, there are advantages to it, but it is something I see very hard for homesteaders to
Embrace.
accomplish.
They're very hard. Like, you can take ideas from it and apply it to your life.
Because if you're going to run an aquaponics system,
You've done a lot of stuff.
A chicken, a duck, cows, goats, you keep adding on to the amount of stuff you need to take care of them, or food to have on hand for them.
Or preps you need to have for those animals, because what if your water goes out and you can't get them water? You don't have a pond. You have to have a water source.
Yep.
You need to have water for those animals. All of these things matter, and like, you could do it in tiny living. You could do it anywhere. You really can't. But you got to be prepared to deal with and manage the amount of stuff you're going to need. Right. It's not easy just to say, I'm a minimalist and I'm going to do homesteading, because you're going to have a lot more stuff you have to deal with. Seed starting alone, it doesn't require a lot, but in a way it kind of does, because you buy all these seeds. You have to have a way to manage the seeds and deal with the seeds. And I did a video on this last year, and I got to tell you, how fast was it for me to organize our seeds this year?
You got it done in like 5 minutes.
And we had a lot of seeds.
Mm-hmm.
But it went, I've never managed our seed starting so quickly, ever. And it was amazing. So, but it's a lot to manage, because you have a lot of seeds and a lot of stuff. So you have to have a place to put them, a place to store them, a place to take care of them, a place to grow them. All
things
of these
to put them in.
Things to put them in. And you can use paper pots and things like that. You can buy pots, but you don't want to constantly be buying pots every year. Yeah. That's not cost effective. You can get the ones that are compostable, but they can be expensive. And we have found they don't compost super well.
No, they just get mushy
or dry,
and they don't want to compost down like you would have expect them to.
They don't like disintegrate. Like, yeah. I'm expecting them to just be like a piece of toilet paper and just go, like when it hits water, it just turns to nothing. They don't do that. They stay pretty steady, because we tried those our first year and it didn't work out to our favor.
No,
not as well as we would have thought of. Now the little Jiffy pop-up things are amazing. They were great. The things I used for the strawberries, the little circle things. But again, we didn't use like their seed starting thing. We had bought the seed starting things that we needed. I will say collapsible, minimizing storage space, all of those things matter. I always look for that when I'm doing anything, like how much space is this really going to take. Yeah, I struggle with some concepts. I really do. I struggle with some things about minimalism.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be hard for homesteaders to be minimalist, just because of how expensive everything has gotten anymore. You don't want to get rid of anything because it's going to cost you double to replace it.
Yep, that's the thing too.
I mean, how can you think, oh, well, I don't need this, but I probably need it from 2 years from now. If I sell it for $50 now and pay for $100 for it later, how's that even?
Especially if something's not going to go bad.
Right. Like, let's say a post driver. Okay, I've fenced. I'm going to fence. I highly doubt that. In a couple of years, you'll be driving some more posts, so don't get rid of that post driver.
Post driver is one of the most used tools on our homestead.
Yeah.
It probably is.
Yeah.
It absolutely is. I see concepts of it being used, but I do see this being a huge movement in 2024. I see as more and more people are struggling to make ends meet, as more and more people are trying to find ways to manage their home. We don't know, unemployment rates could go up. Anything can happen.
Yeah.
if it doesn't happen in 2024, it's very likely going to happen in 2025. 2024 is a different type of year, if we all know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
And for us, it's just one of those things. I see that movement really pushing forward, especially for people that are younger.
And in the cities.
In the cities, just trying to get rid of as much of their stuff, selling it, giving it away, donating it, whatever they need to deal with less stuff. And then they're going to stop buying stuff.
Yep.
You're not going to be able to afford it.
Yeah. You got any final thoughts?
That was.
I will say mine is...
He's not a minimalist. He will never be a minimalist. I said it. He can't do it.
I can't. So, for example, tell them about all the computer cables.
I don't even know how many computers. I have not seen them. I do not want to see them. I do not want to know how many cables and how many drawers of cables we have in this room.
Like about 5 big drawers full. So basically, computer dies, cables keep, computer gets rid of, components get taken out of it. It gets trashed, but all the cords are usable and will be used later or stored to be hopefully used later.
Yeah.
So, but, from a homesteading perspective, there is...
Aaron struggles with it.
I can't get by the fact that somebody's not going to have a piece of 2x4 waiting out there, like that size right there for that project that they need, and not have it because they're minimalist and got rid of it. Hey, that piece of 2x4 has got a purpose.
You just don't know it yet.
Just don't know which one it is yet.
We could say we use lots of scrap pieces of wood on projects. We try to use as much as we can.
Yeah.
Like we look, okay, how much small pieces do we have? How much do we need to cut off of them? Can we make them work with this size? And we kind of build around the small pieces of wood to get rid of it all.
Yeah. Well, but don't go minimalist. Stay frugalist.
Make your own choice on this. And again, we're probably might be totally off kilter here. This is just what we see, what we hear, what we've noticed watching. And
tiny houses.
Not even tiny. Well, tiny houses does not mean minimalism. It does not. It does not. There are lots of big houses that are minimalist too. It's an idea, a thought.
So what are you going to put in a big house if you're a minimalist? I'm just going to have random open floor of nothing but carpet or tile.
They're going to have a couch and a table and a few things that bring them joy in life. Nothing brings Aaron joy in life. So he doesn't understand this concept. And
that cable over there brings me joy knowing that I have it when we need it.
They're going to have a pretty decoration on a table and that's it. All the rest of the stuff is gone. It'll all be all Target decor. It's not, but it's what it feels like when you watch TikTok or all the other stuff that you see, all the other reels. It's kind of crazy.
Okay. If you got any questions, comments, anything you want to hear in a future episode, leave it down below. Or send us an email to thecannycouple@yahoo.com. And make sure to go over and check our link tree, which has links to all of our other content. We're trying to build up our TikTok presence. So, if you don't follow us over there, make sure to go over there. We're putting out some of our shorts over there as well. And, hey, make sure to give this video a thumbs up. We'd really appreciate it on YouTube.
And as always, thank you for joining us on Rule of Reliance with the Canny Couple, where we work hard, live simple, and enjoy life. Have a wonderful day.